it's a challenge that all of us face, companies and countries, because the US-China relationship is the most consequential relationship in the world, and it shapes the tone of global affairs. Unfortunately, relations are worsening, and we can see that happening day by day. And the countries are divided on many issues, ranging from different rival ideologies to systems of government, and now, more recently, sharply escalating tensions over Taiwan. So we do worry. The fortunate thing is, I think on both sides, the leadership do not want direct confrontation at all, because they know so much is at stake and there is everything to lose, everything to lose. So that restrains them somewhat. But we do worry that there may be accidents and miscalculations which can cause things to worsen very quickly. How does Singapore navigate this? Well, we are friends with both sides, US and China. We are in no position at all to prescribe actions for either party, but we have been encouraging both sides to keep open lines of communication, especially and including at the highest levels. And it's good that the leaders on both sides have had a virtual meeting recently, and they have agreed also to meet face-to-face quite soon. So we hope with that constant and that ability to continue to keep in touch, especially face-to-face, which has been difficult for China, especially over the last 2.5 years. But with that ability to come together, to meet in person, there will be an ability to establish a new modus vivendi between the two countries, recognizing that really the world is big enough for China and US to coexist, and the two countries do not have to define their relationship in adversarial terms. Yes, there can be competition on several fronts, in fact, very rigorous competition, so be it, but in many, many other areas, there are, in fact, shared interests, especially in dealing with issues like climate change and pandemic response, where we do need the two powers to come together in order for us to make progress.
You've spoken quite a bit about a worry that you have about a miscalculation. And I was thinking, I mentioned this on a previous panel, that from 1890 through 1910, there was this great push for globalization in the world. And then came one of the most tragic events in human history, World War I, which was really a series of miscalculations and accidents. Unlike World War II and some other major conflicts, World War I seems to truly have been the miscalculation. And global trade as a percent of global GDP never got back to what it was in 1910 until about the 1990s. So even though the leadership in China is rational and doesn't want a miscalculation, even though the leadership in the United States is rational and doesn't want a miscalculation, there seems to be this disturbing kind of populism at loose in the world that is almost itching for a fight, not thinking through what the horrible consequences of such a fight would be. Do you detect this rising populism as a barrier to getting back on the path of globalization and reducing tensions between the great superpowers?
It is a barrier. Domestic politics is at play in both countries, and China is susceptible to domestic politics too. It's not just in the US, where you may say that democracy is a bit more rambunctious. But China too has domestic politics to deal with. And so I think that makes it difficult for both sides. It constrains the ability on both sides to cede any ground. So that's certainly a factor. I think with today's generation of leaders on both sides, they do understand the stakes, because on both sides, people have seen what conflict is like, and they don't want to see it happen in their lifetimes. What we should be worried about and concerned about is what the next generation would think. A next generation growing up in a very different environment in both US and China. And if there is no ability for that people-to-people connection and communication to happen, it's very easy to portray the other side as the bad guy. We are the good guys. And both sides do that, and you have a whole generation of people growing up thinking that way. Then what happens 20 years from now, 30 years from now? I think that's something we should be concerned about. And that's why maintaining those lines of communication, having people-to-people contact is so important, because it's all about building trust. And you've got to do that at a strategic level between US and China. As the saying goes, trust is built painstakingly, drop by drop, but trust can be lost in buckets very quickly. And we hope that the leadership on both sides understand the importance of building trust, both for today and for the future.